63. The next year is election year, as if we didn't know.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Oh, great. I really should have called in sick this morning. I thought about it. Okay, as you saw there, and as some of you can pick up on by the title itself, what we're doing today. If you don't recognize any of that, you're just too darn young. That's all there is to it. If you notice, the show was in black and white, and that's the way the show was. But the premise behind the show was that it would take the previous week's headlines and using a lot of satire, recap them. So what I'm doing is I'm recapping the whole year's worth of series of the messages we received today, or that we received this year. Hopefully without the satire. Maybe a little bit in it, just a little. But, so what we need to do is you need to sit back and relax, because we're going to be here for a while. I had to go through 40 to 45 messages for this. So you're going to be here for a while. No, I'm kidding. Serving lunch. They can order pizza back there. Anyway, naturally we started the year where we should have started, in the Old Testament. Specifically, we started in Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 to 3. And God spoke these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. And the scripture went on through some stipulations, and they close in the 23rd chapter by saying, beware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions. For my name is in him. But if indeed you obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies. There is where God gave us a covenant that he would always be on our side as long as we put him first. If he's first in our lives, he'll be there. He'll help us. We can get through it, whatever it is. And all that led to a very profound statement next, which is, God is God and we're not. You know, we try to put God in a little box sometimes and just pull him out when we want him. Almost like the magician with the black hat. Come on out. I need your help now. And we usually wait and do that when we've exhausted every other means, every other human means to solve the problem. Instead of putting him first to begin with and letting him guide us either through the problem, or maybe we'd have just gone around it. Maybe we wouldn't have had that problem. And God is the same whenever, wherever. He was the same in the past as he is today. He's the same today as he'll be in the future. He doesn't change. We do. Nothing we can do or nothing we can say will change that. He is going to be the way he is. That brings us to human choice and the death of God. The human choice part, it's pretty straightforward. You know, it's the choices we make. The death of God, however, that's a little more complex. We know that God cannot die. He cannot die in the literal sense. He cannot die in the absolute sense. He doesn't even truly become absent at any point. He has told us he'll be with us So he's there. It's up to us to communicate with him. As long as there's a single atom in the universe, God's power is there. You can't get rid of it. It's there. But the life-generating impact of God can die. We see it happen in people all the time. It can happen in a person. It can happen in a culture. We've seen that. It can happen by our choice. It can even happen by a single choice. We see in Kings, 1 Kings chapter 12, there's a pattern that appears whenever a person or a culture turns away from God. At first, with good intentions, they add to God. Jeroboam did that in trying to appease his people, in trying to make it so that they wouldn't be upset with him. He decided it was too far for everybody to travel to Jerusalem for their religious events. So he established high places. Then he really got off track. They put in golden calves. They put on other rules and regulations, just as us humans are always tempted to do. And in the end, it didn't work. The next phase that we come to is the person or the culture will replace God. He becomes less and less prominent in their lives or in the culture. And the culture becomes more politically correct. Sound familiar? Hear that anywhere around? When they try to kill God, they can't. We've already said that. He can't be killed. So what's the next best thing if they can't kill him? Kill the people that are speaking for him. The people that are speaking the truth of his word, the people that are living a godly life, kill them. Silence the voices. They kill godly values. They kill consciousness, moral guidance. We lose it. But there's a twist there. They do all these things to kill God, but it isn't really God who dies. It's you. It's me. It's the culture. That's what dies, not God. Then we move along into the next one, which is e-gifts. Anybody remember that series? Anybody remember what e-gifts stood for? I'm sure some of them would probably say electronic gifts. But it's eternal gifts. That's what he gives us. And one of them that he gives us is a need. We need to grow. Just as a physical baby eats and drinks and we think that's all they ever do, eat, drink, sleep, they need to do that to grow, because they need to grow, because they can't take care of themselves. They have to get bigger to be able to do that. They have to mature. Christians also need to grow. And churches are full of people, of Christians, that don't. They accept Christ as their Savior. They may even throw themselves wholeheartedly into everything. You know, Bible study, 2-3 nights a week, Sunday school, all 3 services. Any chance they can be here, they are. They're growing. They're getting saturated. Yeah, for maybe the first year or 2. Then things start fading away, and their desire lessens, their determination lessens, and before you know it, they've leveled off. They're not growing. They're stagnant. So we can find out about that. We can find out how that is among us, ourselves. because you can ask yourself some questions to check your maturity status, to check where you are. Can you look back on your Christian walk and see milestones of your growth? Where you see a definite point in time that you grew as a Christian, or that was the catalyst for your next growth. I remember one of mine. Some crazy pastor came up and said, "Hey, will you take over teaching a Sunday school class? We lost a Sunday school teacher." And I was silly enough to say yes. No. Back then I thought it was silly. I was scared to death. Turned out to be the best thing I've done. I've learned more since that time because I was challenged by the people in the class because of how much they already knew. I felt I learned at a crazy rate. But get back on track here. If you can see those milestones, when was the last one that you can remember? Was it 15 years ago? 30 years ago? Was it last week? Was it yesterday? Hopefully it's closer to last week or yesterday than 15 to 30 years ago. Are you able to teach? And that doesn't mean teach Sunday school. That doesn't mean get up here and teach through a message. It is, can you lead another to the Lord? Do you know enough to lead another to the Lord? Hebrews says we are growing by reason of use. When was the last time you used your faith to the point of growing? Where you took, I believe there's even a show out about this, your leap of faith, and took on something you felt that you had no business taking on, that you weren't ready for. The next series we had was The Beautiful Bride, and what it takes to be part of this beautiful bride. We have to take Christ as our primary model for this. And we have to have what was phrased humble intentionality, keeping a common heart, a humble heart of godly giving. Be consistent, be humble, and have the love of your fellowship. And in the Prepare series, we start by seeing spiritual disconnect. You know, a week prior to this series starting, we had students being killed on campus out at a university in Oregon. We had a not too nice response to a message that was given at DePaul University. Granted, the message was confrontational and the person meant it to be. But it was still showed the way the culture is today. It wasn't accepted the way, at least I feel it should have been. Pastor Kevin put in a quote from a theologian, John Piper. And you'll recognize it when I read it. John Piper used this from The Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And that's pretty much where most of us stop with remembering that passage. That's all we remember of it. But it goes on. It says, it was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of willing disbelief. It was a season of light and a season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. This was written in 1859. Do you think it still fits today? I do. Today we say, we are free. We live in a free country. But yet we are slaves. We're slaves to all sorts of addictions. And in the first service, I said, that's not necessarily alcohol or drugs. Someone said, yeah, it's that thing you carry in your pocket, cell phone. For some it is. I said, well, it's what you carry in the other pocket, that green stuff. It can be a waste of time. Maybe you don't want to do anything, so you just waste your time. You're not productive. The world, for the most part, doesn't know Christ. And Christ's mission is nearly forgotten. So what the world does is says, show me. They may not be from Missouri, but they say, show me. That's fair. I mean, we all like illustrations, examples. And we Christians are supposed to be those examples because we supposedly have the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and godly self-control. We're supposed to have that. But not only are we supposed to have it, more importantly, it's supposed to be visible. If people can't see that fruit through you, you're being ineffective. John Piper quoted in 1 Peter, John Piper quoted, trust the sovereignty of God to use the world's insanity to serve His purpose. We know that God will take whatever we do and turn it around for His good, for what He needs to happen. 1 Peter says, let those who suffer according to God's will entrust their souls to a faithful Creator while doing good. It's not learning about the good. It's not talking about being good. It's doing good. We can't just stay in here and expect to be good Christians. We have to take it out there. It's in the doing.